Hey, what's up guys? It's Don here and welcome back to another Jailbreak tweak video. In today's video, I'll be showing you 10 tweaks that will allow you to customize your iOS. So without any further ado, let's get started. For our first tweak, we have FloatingDock. Now this allows us to add more icons to our dock because I don't know why Apple doesn't allow us to do that already. But it also gives us two new features which I think are on the iPad dock. I do not know because I do not own a iPad. But basically those features are suggestion apps and also your most recently used apps. And they basically go on your dock and they have a little splitter that separates your actual icon docks between those two features. So let's go into the settings and take a look of the options this tweak provides us. So if we go into FloatingDock, we have our enable toggle, of course. And as you can see, we have our suggestion and also our recent apps toggles. I have them disabled because I just like a simplistic dock. But anyways, the max you can have here is 5 for each slider. As you can see, I have mine set to default 2 because I just disabled them. And in the bottom, you have a use custom color toggle. You enable that, then you're obviously going to get your custom color toggle. And right below that, we have a make dock transparent. Now, I want to let you know, it does tell you at the bottom as well. If you enable this, it's going to disable your dock color. I'm not sure why, but yeah. At the very bottom, we have our max dock icons, which is 15. But I have it set to 6, but I usually use around 5 icons on my dock. And then we have our respring option. And that's pretty much it for FloatingDock, something very simplistic that allows us to extend our dock options. For our next tweak, it's called Jumper. Now, this is a paid tweak. It used to be free, but the developer made it a paid tweak within an update. So that's why it has a lot of negative reviews. People were mad. So it's up to you if you want to buy it or pirate it. Anyways, what this tweak allows us to do is customize the two toggles on our lock screen. Now, if you're not a X device user, you can try out Little X, and that gives us iPhone 10 features. And Jumper is compatible with Little X, supposedly. I don't have a compatible device to test that out, so yeah. So anyways, this is what Jumper does to our device. As you can see, I kept the original flashlight toggle, but I did modify the camera one because it's pretty stupid to have the swipe to the right camera and still have a camera toggle. So I have a multiple toggle, so I have multiple selections. I have my phone, my message, and Twitter. And I also have a nice feature enabled that gives us notification badges. So let's go take a look at some of the settings that this tweak provides. We go into Jumper, we have our enabled option, and we also have our first icon shortcut. I have set to default because that's the flashlight. And the second one is our camera one. Now, if you take a look at the options, you have the option to select a lot of things, your apps and some extra stuff, but I have selected multiple shortcuts. Now, to customize that, you just exit out and go to select multiple shortcuts. And this is where you can select the multiple apps you want for that toggle. Now, I only have 3. With this new update, you now have the option to have 4, but I haven't selected a app for that 4th one. So if we go back, we have other options and we have view style icons. This will basically blend your icon and make it look as original as could be. Because if you don't have this enabled, you would just actually get your actual app icon and it looks ugly. The second option is notification badge. So if you have a notification on one of those toggles that you have, it will actually pop out like you just saw on my screen. Then at the end, you just have the credits for the tweak. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Jumper. Now, if you like your flashlight and your camera toggle, I do have another option for you, and that is LSREPLACECAM. Now, what LSREPLACECAM does is it replaces the swipe to the right to bring up your camera feature, and you can actually just replace that with any app that you desire. So I actually have the phone app replacing that. So if we take a look here, we get to swipe to the right and it brings up my phone dialer. Now, what I don't like about this tweak is if you install it by itself, it will replace your camera toggle, and I will show you what I mean by that. So I'm actually have to respring and disable Jumper so you can see that. And basically this tweak will replace that camera toggle, which sucks. So if I click on my camera toggle, it still brings up the dialer. Now I did find out a way how to counter that, and we basically have to use jumper. So if we go back into jumper here, and we're gonna have to respring once again. So once again to jumper, you wanna go into your second icon shortcut, and you're gonna wanna select your camera. Now, do not select default because the issue will still reside if you select default. You actually have to select your camera. So once we have that selected, we're going to respring. And once it's done, you will see that we have our camera toggle. But the thing that sucks is it doesn't actually have the camera icon. It has this other icon. But if we select the camera toggle, we actually get our camera back up and working. And if we lock it, and swipe to the right, we still have our dialer. So that's one way to work around that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for LSCam. It allows you to replace that annoying repetitiveness that Apple has. For this next tweak, I'm not really going to go in depth into it, but it's called exKey. So if we go into our messages, you can see it adds a new row to our keyboard. In this case, it's the number row. Now, one downside about this tweak is it does make your keys a bit smaller, so you might have a lot of typos. But honestly, that's pretty much about this tweak. And if we go into our settings, I did not mess with the settings, but it does have quite a lot of settings, as you can see here. And honestly, I don't understand them. So if you want to go in there and check them out, go ahead. But it's just too much for me. I didn't want to mess around with it. I'll take that extra row on my keyboard and call it a day. So that is exKey. And now let's go on to our next tweak. KEYSWIPE iOS 11 allows you to change your keyboard by simply swiping on the keyboard. You see, I only have my Spanish keyboard and my emojis keyboard. But if I swipe up, swipe down, it changes just like that without having me to go all the way to the left corner to change out the keyboard. Now, this is useful. In my case, I'm a one-handed user. So sometimes it's a bit difficult to go all the way to the bottom left corner. But with swipe key, I could just swipe, go to my emoji, swipe back, and go back to my regular keyboard. And that's pretty much it for KEYSWIPE iOS 11. Skrollerz is our next tweak, and this tweak allows us to tap on the top of our status bar and it will automatically scroll up. If you're reading an article or in some type of app, it will just scroll up. Now for iPhone X users, you're probably wondering, why do I want this tweak if we already have this feature on our iPhone X device? Well, Skrollerz also allows us to scroll down. So if you ever accidentally hit the top and it scrolled up, it's kind of annoying if you have to scroll all the way down. So if you see here, I have it set up where if I tap the top right, it scrolls down, as you can see there. And if I tap the top left, it scrolls all the way back up. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the settings that this tweak provides. And it's honestly only 3. So we have our enable option, and then we have 2 options to select, whether the left scroll and the right scroll direction. So let's say you want to scroll to the bottom with the left side and you want to scroll to the top with the right side. You could go ahead and configure those however you like. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Skrollerz, which allows us to customize our scroll up feature on iPhone X devices, or you can actually just get that feature if you're not a X device user. Now let's go on to our next tweak. HOMEHIKACK allows us to remap our volume and also Siri function buttons. So let's go take a look at some of the settings that this tweak provides. Our first option allows us to remap Siri. So I have the weather app to launch instead of Siri. So that applies to the second option as well, but this only works for iPhone 8 and below users. This does not work even if you try to use the virtual home button that you get on your phone. But just triple click your home button and you'll get a application to launch for that substitution feature. Same applies to the volume up and volume down button, but I recommend you stay away from these because if you select a app, this will render that button useless. So let's say I select Twitter for my volume down, I will no longer be able to lower my volume in videos. It will just launch the Twitter app from now on. The other setting that we have down here, you have to have Siri disabled in order for these to work. So yeah. The first option allows us to bring our control center instead of Siri. This works, but in order to lock your device, you do have to push your power button twice. I'm not sure why, but that's what I found out. The respring option works flawlessly, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that. The low power mode works, but I do not remember if it causes any issues when it comes to locking the device. But yeah. The torch option is the one that I wanted to use, but it causes a big issue. And that issue is it does not allow you to lock your device. So it basically renders your lock button useless, just like the power volume up and down button. But it does work. So you do turn on and turn off your flashlight if you activate it with your power button. Now the other options we have here is for the triple click home button, which does not work for me. So if you have an iPhone 8 and below, you're gonna have to experiment with that on your own. Then the other two options are basically your volume up and volume down button, which I recommend staying away once again. But that's pretty much it for this tweak. Home hijack allows us to remap our Siri function. So let's go on to our next tweak. DateUnderTimeX is a tweak just for iPhone X users, and it fixes something that Apple did not implement. And that basically adds the date under our time so we don't have to go into the control center every time. This tweak is a simple download and install tweak, nothing to configure, and yeah, that's pretty much it. DateUnderTimeX. Now let's go on to our next tweak. SilentScreenshot basically allows us to turn off the camera shutter sound when you take a screenshot. Now this is extremely useful if you're in public. You have a lot of people looking at you thinking that, hey, you're crazy, you're taking a picture of them, but you're not. So let's go take it some of the settings that this tweak gives us. So if we go into SilentScreenshot, we're going to have our enable toggle, of course. We're going to have the enable flash color, so you can have a custom color. As you guys know, when you take a screenshot, it flashes white, as you can see. And you can actually have that a custom color that you like. The preview and white flash off basically removes the entire flash and the little preview on the bottom left corner. So when you take a screenshot, that's it. You take a screenshot, nothing to edit or nothing. It's in your photo album. Then the next option we have is sound off. It's pretty explanatory. And at the bottom, we have haptic sensitivity. So when you take a screenshot, it actually gives you some type of haptic feedback. I have mine at medium. Honestly, I can't tell the difference between medium and hard, so I just left the default. But yeah, that's pretty much it for SilentScreenshot. Now let's go on to our next and final tweak. SPRINGPLUSU 11 is our last and final tweak, and what this tweak does is it gives us a huge control over our whole iOS device. So if we go into settings, I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's pretty self-explanatory for some of these settings. So if we go down here to SPRINGPLUSU 11, we have a bunch of categories right here already provided for us. And if we go into each one of them, we're going to have a bunch of toggles we could turn on and off to make our iOS device look a whole lot better. Now, I don't have much enabled because I just installed it, but as you can see, all these features are amazing. Now, these might conflict with some other apps because some other apps also have these features and you might have been enabled on those apps. But yeah, one con to this app is I think it drains quite a bit of battery. Not while it's being in use, but just when it's on standby. So basically when you're asleep, it does drain a nice amount of battery. Not a lot like the RGB tweaks, but I have been able to notice that I'm missing at least about 10% of battery. And that's just me being asleep and not even using the device. So yeah, that's pretty much it for SPRINGPLUSU 11. I really do not want to go into depth into it because as you can see, it's quite a lot, but everything's pretty simplistic, the descriptions on what the settings do. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys liked the video, so go ahead and like it if you liked it. You already know what to do if you didn't like it. And if you'd like to see more of my future jailbreak tweak videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.